We're getting into our Managing Those Pennies session, and today signals the start of our focus on Financial Literacy Month. So, good morning, Crystal Howell. There she is, ready and waiting. So, Crystal is, of course, a chartered professional accountant and certified internal auditor. So, what is Financial Literacy Month all about?
Well, about 16 years ago, persons decided that it was important for the average person to be able to have a good grasp on what it means to be financially independent and financially literate. So, an effort was made to ensure that an entire month was dedicated to this purpose. And there are many bodies all over the world, including the Chartered Professional Accountants, that have put in an effort to make sure that the average citizen has all the information that they need to arm themselves to be financially prepared and savvy. So they have created a whole slew of information that they have shared with us, the knowledge professionals, that we can voluntarily share this information with the wider public. And it's usually targeted towards schools and different institutions. However, given the particular circumstances that we have, I decided to use this channel to be able to share with as many persons as possible this information. So I'm hoping that the topic that I selected for this particular month, that it will help persons that once COVID has passed and we start to explore what our new normal is, that you'll be armed and ready to be able to face this new world with as much information as possible. And hopefully persons would take being financially savvy and prepared a lot more seriously, because as much as we would not expect anyone to be prepared for something like this, we still at the same time don't want persons to be completely unarmed and without any kind of tools to be able to help them to move forward once we start to try to figure out what we're going to do with life after this particular pandemic has passed.
I'm glad you said that, Crystal, because it felt as though there were so many people and still are so many people who did not have a buffer. And that's a lot of us. There are a lot of us who are living paycheck to paycheck, and not necessarily because we have to live that way, but sometimes because we don't budget the way we should or plan financially the way we should. The one song that comes to mind on this bright and Monday morning is Red Plastic Bag, Learn to Cut and Contrive. That's something that we heard for many, many years in Barbados, but we certainly are going back to that place. I've been hearing a lot of people talking about the fact that this could instill in Barbadians thoughts, the fact that we don't in fact need as much as we think we do. So talk to us now about what people can do to cut and contrive in a new age type of
Nice,
way.
Titia, nice.
I definitely agree with that thought, and this is in no shape, form, or fashion an indictment on those who are living below the poverty line, but acknowledge that there are many Barbadians who can better, and we're hoping that with this information that they will be able to. So this particular segment is going to be focusing on what you can teach your children, because I know for many of us, some of us, to be very honest, we're far gone, and it's difficult as an adult to break many habits, but I'm hoping that persons will at least acknowledge that they can pass on some good habits to their children who tend to pick things up and keep them with themselves for a much longer period. So we're looking at children from as young as the age of 5, able to share with them how they'll be able to manage their finances, how they can make wise financial decisions, what they should be doing with their allowances, how to create budgets, teaching them the importance of how to manage a credit card and cell phones from as young an age as that, because you don't want them to be learning it from another source and having false information. So we'll get right into it. And if you could pull up the third slide, the goal today is to raise financially independent and responsible children who are happy, healthy, and successful. And if this is something you have not felt for yourself, as I said, we definitely want to make sure that we start to teach our children about money so that it does not, so that they don't continue a cycle. because that's what happens with a lot of us. We pick up what we would have known, we pass it on to our children. But I'm hoping that we can break this cycle and make sure that our children can become financially savvy.
Well said. Well said. This is important. So that piggy bank is still very important and still has a major role to play, right, Crystal?
Oh, yes. It teaches children from a young age that instant gratification is not always the way. And I do encourage balance, because your entire life should not be spent just being, just contriving. But
Right.
we have spent too much of a focus on what we want now and having material things and doing things that don't necessarily lead to a life where in the future, when we are older and we're unable to work, that we're taken care of. So I'm hoping that we can bring back that balance and show our children, even with very small things, when you have your allowance, and you may have, I don't know how much people give their children nowadays for school, but if you give your child, let's say, $1, how much of that dollar are you going to save for a future expense or for a future need, so that they can understand
Mm-hmm.
us with a small amount? Because we may laugh and say, but it's only $1. But if children understand that even with a small amount, that once they put aside a portion of this, they can then use it to do something to help improve their lives in the future, people will be
Yeah.
very surprised how far those lessons go. That when they become an adult and they're managing a much larger salary, they're able to see the benefits of putting aside a portion of it towards
Mm-hmm.
some benefit. So I know some of the
Absolutely.
challenges.
Crystal, oh,
Hi,
sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was about to say, I have two nephews who are as different as the days from the night. And you would give one $20 and he will bring home 19. He would give the other $20 and he will spend the whole $20
And want
in
more.
one day. I listen, how do we truly move to teach children the value of what they get outside of, I mean, growing up we had chores and stuff like that to do. We're hearing
Hmm.
a lot of employers talk about millennials now who don't necessarily
Mm-hmm.
adapt well in the work environment, because it's like, I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to work. When I go home, I still have a place to live. I'll still eat. My mom, dad, they'll still buy me a nice cell phone. How do we actually do that?
Final
Well,
minute, Crystal.
as a millennial, I will say it has a lot to do with the personality of the child that you're dealing with as well. So there are some that have a very strong work ethic, and they have been nurtured as well as their nature to focus on making sure that they manage their funds properly. But you do have some children that have been a bit more challenging. And to me, you just have to put in the additional work, accept that your child, it has that particular type of personality, and you're going to have to find ways to be able to reach that child regardless, because these are lessons that they have to carry, as you said, straight into the workplace, right into school, right into the workplace. And you want them to be a contributing member of society rather than one of those millennials that people think have no work ethic. So I know there are a lot of challenges for parents where people think that they're too young and they're not interested, and that they lack the knowledge or the time or the opportunity to be able to teach their children the basics. But you have to be able to drill into their four key things. It's important to save properly, spend properly, share, and invest. And we will definitely be getting into those concepts over the next few weeks, so that when they get,
Okay. Okay. Crystal, thank you very much. Yes, we need to
no
make sure
problem.
that we get into those concepts more so that when they get older, they understand they have something to work with. Thank you so much. We'll do part two next Monday.